Good evening to all in the Asia region. Good morning to my colleagues signing in from the Americas, and good day to those joining us from anywhere in between. I am Bindu Sharma, Director of the APAC Policy at the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children based in Singapore. For those of you who may not be familiar with the International Center, we are a global NGO headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia in the US, and we work to make the world safer for children by endeavoring to eradicate child abduction, sexual abuse, and exploitation. And in our endeavor to advance child protection and safeguard children, we identify gaps in the global community's ability to properly protect children and bring together an extensive network of public and private sector partners to respond to this global challenge with collaborative solutions. Headquartered in the United States, we have a presence in Brazil, and as I mentioned, in Singapore. As we come to grips with and address the public health impact of the COVID-19 crisis, the world is slowly waking up to the growing need for a collective and coherent multi-stakeholder response to child protection. Offline and online, children are at a greater risk of being groomed, enticed, exploited, and abused. In the current stay-at-home circumstances, children and young people are likely to be spending more time online, most likely unsupervised, including using apps and games to pass the time, connect with friends, family, and learn. Their increased presence online is putting them at a higher risk of being approached, targeted, or engaged with online child sex offenders through social networking, image or video sharing apps, instant messaging, or gaming platforms. In addition, the child protection community is well aware that violence against children is often perpetrated by people in positions of trust, starting in the home, unfortunately, by parents and guardians. With close to 3 billion people under some kind of lockdown, children are also at risk of being confined at home with their abuser, or as said earlier, an open target online. According to Childline India, their helpline received more than 92,000 SOS calls asking for protection from abuse and violence in the first 11 days of the lockdown in India. More so, just this week, the boys' locker room case highlights the need to not only monitor and guide the young about online behavior, but also that it is essential that parents and teachers be aware and more vigilant about their children's online footprint. There are similar reports from elsewhere in the world. In the US, according to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, the National Sexual Assault Hotline to report abuse saw a 22% increase in monthly calls from people younger than 18 years of age, a first in the organization's history. Of those young people who contacted the hotline in March, 67% identified their perpetrator as a family member, and 79% said they were currently living with that perpetrator. The UK's biggest safeguarding charity has warned that a shortage of moderators who combat sexual abuse online, combined with children spending more time on the internet at home, has created a perfect storm for abusers to take advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic. The warning came after Europol, the law enforcement agency of the European Union, said it had seen increased online activity by those seeking child abuse materials. In addition, anxiety about COVID-19, family economic hardship, food insecurity, and decreased social support of peers and teachers leaves children open to further risk of abuse and neglect. Today we have with us three experts who will give us some insights into what governments and stakeholders supporting governments are doing and what they need to be looking out for to strengthen child protection in the current extraordinary global situation. First, we will hear from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children's Rebecca Sternberg, who is the program manager of the cyber tip line in the Exploited Children's Division at the National Center. Rebecca has handled over 100,000 cybercrime reports, cyber tip line reports, resulting in numerous arrests of child sexual offenders. She has provided extensive technical assistance to law enforcement in the United States as well as overseas on cases of child sexual exploitation, especially internet crimes against children. I now hand over to Rebecca. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Bindu. I'm going to need to share my screen and bring up my...
Absolutely.
So I'm not able to share my screen. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for the introduction. Again, my name is Rebecca Sternberg. I'm with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children within our Exploited Children Division. And so I just want to spend a couple of minutes today talking about the National Center, who we are, and a little bit about the cyber tip line and kind of what we're doing in this day and age, especially with what's going on recently and the type of increase we've seen in reports and how law enforcement in the United States is handling these cases. So the National Center, again, we are a nonprofit, non-governmental organization located in Alexandria, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. We are congressionally authorized to operate. We're a national clearinghouse, and we are a resource for law enforcement, families, and other professionals. There's a host of resources you can find on our website, missingkids.org, but I'm not going to get into too much detail since I have limited time today. So the cyber tip line, I spent a lot of time in the Exploited Children Division. The cyber tip line was created in 1998, and it was created as a way for the members of the public to make reports on child sexual exploitation. So to date, I think we've reached over 60 million reports, give or take. We've seen a huge exponential increase in the amount of cyber tip line reports that are coming in. But we do receive reports from the public, and we receive reports from electronic service providers. So providers like Facebook, Google, Twitter, Snapchat. It is a law in the United States that requires these companies to make reports on child sexual exploitation when they come across these images or videos on their platforms. Just to give you an idea of our volume, this is over the last 7 or 8 years. The last 2 years, we've seen huge exponential growth in cyber tip line reports. 2018, there was about 18.4 million reports. Last year, about 16.9 million. What's interesting, though, is these huge numbers, we're also seeing a huge number of files being reported into the cyber tip line. So images and videos of child sexual abuse material. In 2018, about 45 million files were reported into the cyber tip line. And then in 2019, we saw 69 million files. So just because reports are going down, we're still seeing a huge amount of content being reported into the cyber tip line. Just to give you some numbers on what's going on in 2020, we're up for the first quarter through March 31st of this year. We saw about 4.9 million reports. In the last couple of months, we are averaging about 1 million reports a week. So March, April, we've seen a huge spike in the number of cyber tip line reports that are coming in. Just to kind of give you an idea of where reports are being sent, about 94% of our reports do resolve overseas or internationally. We have about 120 countries and territories that actually are able to receive our cyber tip line reports, where we work with governments in those countries to farm out these reports to law enforcement so they can investigate. Really proud that India became a partner of ours last year. I know there's a huge amount of reports that are being sent to India I think over 3 million reports last year or in 2018. So we're seeing a huge amount coming back to this, back to India. But we're always trying to get more and more countries on board. Again, like I said, we, because about 94% of our reports do resolve internationally, we are really making efforts to reach out to governments in other countries for them to have a resource and have a mechanism to make reports or to receive these cyber tip line reports. Again, like I said, we have, because in the United States it's a little bit unique, there is a law that requires these service providers, when they become made aware of child sexual abuse material, they must make a report into the cyber tip line. So we have about a little over 1,500 companies that have that mechanism to make reports on child sexual abuse material. So in the major companies in the US, they're really great because a lot of these platforms have companies all over the world and have abuse teams all over the world. We see a lot of reports resolving back internationally, just not to the United States. Okay. So that's just kind of a little bit of a background on the cyber tip line. Our main objective really with cyber tip line reports is to find an appropriate jurisdiction to send these reports out to, whether it's within the United States or whether it's overseas internationally. So our analysts are really working to figure out proper location. We're looking at, when we can, the images and videos in the reports to figure out, does it meet that threshold of child sexual abuse material? We receive reports not only on child sexual abuse material, but we receive reports on child sexual molestation, child sex tourism, enticement, sextortion, blackmail, all sorts of any type of child exploitation with that online component. We prioritize those reports. We have a call center here at NCMEC that is here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they are responsible for prioritizing cyber tip line reports that are coming in because they're here around the clock. So our priority ones and priority twos are going to be reports that are some sort of really imminent risk to a child or individual in that report. A priority one could be where a child has decided to meet up with the user and has already run away to meet that user or suspect. Priority two is where there could be some sort of meet happening. The child has given out personal information. The child may be engaged in some sort of risky behavior online, sent images or videos to a user, and then that child is easily able to be located by that offender. We really want to get those reports out to law enforcement within 24 to 48 hours. So for law enforcement, that they can intervene rather quickly. All of our priority 3 reports are coming in from the public. So it could be someone who found a website online that has child sexual abuse material and just wants to report it. They could be reporting someone who they believe is engaged in risky behavior, either online or maybe molesting a child. And then all of our priority E reports are coming in from those electronic service providers. So those reports do have uploaded images and videos that are coming in from the provider. And really, analysts is looking at all the information. We're trying to add value to the report. We are trying to create a profile to send out to law enforcement so they have a good idea of who this user is and where this user is located. Because we have such a high volume of reports coming into the cyber tip line, we really have had to take a collaborative approach across the division to figure out how we're going to prioritize and how we're going to triage these reports. We have about 25 analysts right now that are processing these reports. So because of the volume, our analysts are focusing on the domestic reports, and most of the reports going out internationally are just automatically sent. So how are we triaging and finding these reports? We have created a set of alerts with the help of a wonderful company called Palantir. And our main focus is really getting the valuable reports out to law enforcement. A lot of these reports contain hidden information. So whether it's information that's in the EXIF metadata, the information that's embedded behind the image. It could be a date and time when that image was taken. It could be some GPS coordinates of where that image was taken. Something that could help us locate either the child in that image or the suspect in that image. We look at IP addresses. So if there's domains that go back to a government or a school, we want to be notified and we'll let law enforcement know. And then any keyword alerts. So if there's chat in a report that contains indication that the child may be talking to a suspect and wanting to meet up, those get highlighted to us. And those get reviewed every day, and those get processed first and sent out to law enforcement. This is really valuable for international law enforcement because we're just mass sending out reports and auto-referring. It really gives us a chance to dig into those reports and really highlight those higher priority cases for law enforcement to take a look at. Right now, in the era of COVID, what's going on now is we are all working from home. And so a lot of the analysts are not actually looking at content or looking at the images and videos that are coming in. We do have a small team that are going into the office right now that are really focusing on these alerts to get these higher priority cases out to law enforcement with eyes on the images and videos. I'd already talked about prioritizing reports, but just something to highlight that companies are also able to escalate a report when submitting a cyber tip line report. And that's really helpful for us to also get some of these cases that are gonna hide in the background and get them pushed up for our analysts to take a review. And then we are also able to escalate reports up to law enforcement. So if something comes in from a company and we feel like it doesn't meet the threshold of a priority 1 or priority 2, we're gonna go ahead and escalate that as well. Just wanted to take some time to show some numbers specific to India, because we do know that this there's a large volume that are getting farmed out to law enforcement in India. Just want you to pay attention to the actionable reports, or that blue line. So last year, about 860,000 actionable reports were forwarded out to law enforcement in India. The yellow bar, the potential meme or viral content, are just images and videos that are circulating constantly on the internet. They do meet that definition of child sexual abuse material, but someone is sharing that out of outcry or humor or just wanting to help save that victim. So we like to separate those two out just because of the sheer amount of the volume for viral content, and meme content is really, really, really high. So again, this was just the breakdown of reports sent to India last year. There's quite a few, or a good chunk that were sent were priority 1 and priority 2, about 12 reports. And then 59 coming in from the public. And then we were able to escalate about 32 reports that went out to India. And just top reporting companies to India. Facebook kind of holds the large amount of volume kind of around the globe, but Facebook was the #1 reporter, followed by Instagram, Google, and then Snapchat. So what are we doing now? I just wanted to talk really quickly, just the amount of viral content that we're seeing spread across the internet, across the globe, is really, really high. We have a viral content response team that are working with the companies to track the files. We're doing file review. And then we're also, we have a coordinated response with law enforcement and with our call center to post out to the public on why it's not good to share this type of information or share these types of images and videos. And we also work to figure out with law enforcement if there is a new victim that we need to help identify, that we're working with law enforcement and sharing that information amongst the law enforcement community to figure out who is taking the lead and which jurisdiction that information belongs to. And then lastly, our case management tool. This is really a tool to help law enforcement receive cyber tip line reports and help their case management of reports. Facebook has funded this project. It was launched last year in September, and we've just released a new version of this tool. Really, it's a web-based application that has a streamlined dashboard, and it's really easy to refer cyber tip line reports out to law enforcement, and then they're able to assign, triage, and refer out to any local agencies that they need to. There's also a built-in feedback system, and then we've just updated this with an analytics view so that law enforcement, once they receive the reports, can start doing, they can look at the numbers and kind of do a great view of kind of what reports are coming in based on incident type and where they're sending the reports out to. It's really, we've also been able to translate the fields in this tool into different languages because we know our reports are getting sent out to law enforcement in multiple countries, just being able to help them navigate the system a little bit better, and we're constantly adding more languages. So again, just really quickly, like I said, users are able to submit feedback, refer reports, add case notes, link reports together if they find that something needs to be grouped or linked together. And they're able to add their own affiliate agencies and manage users. And the great thing is that there's the review of data and statistics. It's just a quick view of what this looks like. Again, it's just really web-based. It's customizable for different things. And then our analytics view. So you can see kind of what information, breaking it down by what type of company reports you're receiving, the incident types, how many reports you're receiving, that type of thing. And then I just wanted to close with, I know we just started kind of farming out reports to India in the last couple of years, but there have been a lot of great successes that we've seen that have come out of this relationship that we have. So we're really proud to be able to work with you guys. And if there's anything that we can do in the future, please let us know. So thank you.
You're on mute, Mindu.
I'm sorry, am I on now?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Thanks. Thanks, Rebecca. All agree that the numbers are staggering, and Rebecca's presentation not only highlights the need for robust reporting mechanisms, but also analysis, triage, case management, and more. Before I introduce our next speaker, I missed out on the housekeeping. Please feel free to put in your questions into the Q&A, and we will have, at the end of the webinar, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes for question and answer session with the speakers. Allow me now, we will hear from Sri Sanjay Mathur, Joint Director, National Crime Records Bureau. As Rebecca just mentioned, the National NCRB has partnered with NCMEC and receives the referrals coming out of the cyber tip line. Mr. Mathur is the 1994 batch IPS officer from the Tamil Nadu cadre. He has served in various capacities in Tamil Nadu Police Force, including as Commissioner of Police Madurai and Trichy. He is also a recipient of the President's Police Medal for Meritorious Service. May I welcome Mr. Mathur. Over to you.
Thank you very much and good evening to all. Just like to mention the work done by NCRB in this with regard to the protection of women and child against cybercrime. So first of all, I'd like to mention a scheme of MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, Cybercrime Prevention Against Women and Children, that is CCPWC scheme. Under this scheme, is online reporting portal is been launched by MHA last year in August 2019 for reporting cybercrime complaints of any kind. There are two categories. One category includes child pornography cases and rape and gang rape cases. Another category includes other cyber crimes, which includes hacking, pornography, online harassment, etc., etc. So, pornography complaint and rape and gang rape complaints can be filed anonymously. Also, there is a provision to file anonymous complaints. And after the complainant files complaint on this portal, these complaints are forwarded to the state nodal officers, and then these complaints go to the police station for further investigation. And the complainant gets a feedback on the complaints, whether the FIR has been registered and which police station is investigating their complaints and all. And they can also, there is a facility of withdrawing the complaint also subsequently to the complainant in the pornography and rape and gang rape cases. So in this way, we are helping complainants to report about the cybercrime cases in India. And I just like to give a figure. Since the launch of this portal last year in August 2019, the 8,281 complaints have been lodged in this portal about child pornography and rape and gang rape, and about 86,191 complaints have been lodged in other cybercrime categories, including fraud, cyber frauds, hacking, cyberbullying, etc., etc. So this is about the cybercrime reporting portal. And as Rebecca has already mentioned, that NCRB has signed a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with NCMAC last year in April 2019. And after that, we have started receiving cyber tipline reports from NCMAC. And we are sharing these cyber tipline reports to various states for taking further action. So as she mentioned, there are three categories. Priority 1, 2, 3 high priorities, and priority E complaints, cyber tipline reports. The number of priority E cyber tipline reports are more, which are reported by the registered electronic service providers, ESPs, and priority 1, 2, 3 are the higher priority tipline reports where action needs to be taken immediately. So these tipline reports are immediately communicated to the state's nodal officers for taking action. And I would like to mention that on the basis of the cyber tipline report since last year, around 200 FIRs have been lodged in India against the accused persons involved in these cyber offenses. Apart from this, we are also trying to develop some some tools to crawl the cyberspace to find out such obscene content in the cyberspace, because mainly what NCMAC is sharing is from the social media platforms, but there are other obscene content available in the cyberspace which are not on the social media but available otherwise. So we are collaborating with the CDAC Mumbai in this regard, and will be deploying some tools for crawling the cyberspace and finding out such contents, and then alerting states to take action on these contents, like what we are doing in the case of cyber tipline reports. In addition to that, I would like to mention some other initiatives which NCRB has taken about the children, missing children. Like we have an application called CCTNS, Crime Criminal Tracking Networking System, which has been deployed around 16,000 police stations across the country. And whenever there is any FIR is lost, it comes to the national database in New Delhi. So with the help of this national database of CCTNS, we have started a service of sending automatic matching alerts to the police station. So whenever there is a complaint of missing person or missing child reported in the police station, A background search is done by the search engine every night in the CCTV's database, and they match the missing child or missing person with that of the unidentified found person by the police, or the unidentified dead bodies recovered by the police, and they send a matching alert to the police station to further verify whether they are actually the same person or the same child, which have been reported in two different police stations. A child might have been missing from the one police station, and he might have found in some other police station by somebody and reported there. So these two are matched, and then alert has been sent to the police station for further verification. In this way, NCRB is helping the police in tracing the missing children. Similarly, a citizen service has also been launched in March recently. In our inception day, Mr. Vineet Kumar and CyberPeace Foundation team was also present there. Is Central Citizen Service, which can be accessed a portal called Digital Police Portal, where citizens can themselves find out about the cases reported about the missing person and the unidentified recovered children or person or unidentified recovered bodies, and they can find out a match themselves. They can see, they can give some particular parameters like approximate age, approximate height, their any specific identification marks. They can see the photographs, and with these parameters they can find out the probable matches using the CCTRACE database. This service could be of high use for the relatives of the missing person or the missing child who are desperate to find out their location, because the child may be missing from one police station or one district in a particular state, but he might have been found in some other state, in some other police station where he is reported as an unidentified children, or his body might have recovered as unidentified. So this service will definitely help citizens in finding their missing relatives or children. Similarly, we have also launched a portal called Crime Multi-Agency Center. Through this portal, all police stations of the country, there are 16,000 police stations, they can upload an alert about the trafficking. If there is a trafficking case reported anywhere in the country, the concerned police station can upload an alert on this Crime Mac portal, and this will be immediately visible across the country, and they can the particulars like identify particulars, approximate height, age, or identification particulars, photograph, etc., can be uploaded that police station, and that can be seen by police station across the country. So it will help in tracking the children who are being trafficked or missing from that particular location. So this has also been recently launched in March 2020, just before the lockdown, and this has been started. This service has also started being used by the many states now. Similarly, for investigating cyber crimes, the capacity needs to be built, because number of cyber crimes are being reported, slowly increasing. And then MHA has entrusted NCRB to provide online training to the investigators. So we have launched a portal called CyTrain for the police officers across the country under NCTC, National Cybercrime Training Center. Police officers across the country of any rank, from the constable to the highest officer and the prosecutors or the cyber forensic investigators, they can register on this portal and can access the online training material on NCTC. There is a courses for the first investigator. They are called the responders, who actually visit the scene of crime and collect evidence, and then they present the evidence before the investigators. Then there is an investigator track, there is a prosecution track, there is a forensic track, there is a management track for the senior officers. So for all kind of officers, there is a cyber training material is available, and we are encouraging states to ask their police personnel to register on this portal and access the cybercrime training material and get themselves acquainted about cybercrime investigation techniques, because this is the one area where lot needs to be done, because number of cybercrime cases are increasing, but there is no know-how, very little know-how in the field. So this portal will definitely help in improving the capacity building in the field of cyber crime investigation. And we are also proposing to introduce the facial recognition system soon, because in the CCTNS system, we have the photographs of the missing children or the missing person or the accused arrested or the people found wandering, or children found which are not, who are not identified by the people there. So we can match such a person with the database of the CCTNS and can help matching those children and reuniting them with their parents or the relatives. So, and there is a helpline, All India helpline of the online cybercrime portal, which is 155260. This can be accessed from anywhere in India, and this helpline will help the complainants in understanding them or the guiding them to lodge the complaints on cybercrime reporting portal. So, if there are any questions, I welcome from the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathur, for the very insightful and informative presentation. Greatly appreciate that, and really nice to learn about the cybercrime reporting portal, the triage that's being done by the force, the NCRB team, as well as the online training, site train, as you said, about the first responders, investigators, forensic, as well as facial recognition, all very much needed. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
We'll now next move to our next speaker. We'll hear from one of ICMEC's esteemed law enforcement partners, the Kerala Police. Mr. Manoj Abraham is the Additional Director General of Police. Prior to his current position, Manoj was the Inspector General of Police, Cyberdome Kerala, a position he held for over 5 years. Cyberdome Kerala is a unique public-private partnership around cybercrime and cybercrime investigations. In 2019, Mr. Abraham created the first dedicated team to counter child sexual exploitation. In 2019, Mr. Abraham was recognized by the Interpol for his efforts to tackle online crimes against children as a champion for the child protection. So over to you, Mr. Manoj. Thank you very much for being with us.
Very good evening to all of you. We are all gathered here. We know in this pandemic also, which is primarily a health issue, but still the hidden issue is basically of online child exploitation, which has really grown in multiple levels in the current lockdown. And this is one problem. I'll basically specifically go into the Kerala, what we are doing in Kerala model, but in this digital world, as you all know, there is no specific Kerala model or there is no specific country model. It's a universal world, and the problems in Kerala would be equally applicable to anywhere in the world as such. So basically what we do in Kerala, as Bindu mentioned, we have a institution called the Kerala Police Cyberdome, which is a public-private partnership for preventing cybercrime. Generally, police is an agency which really goes in and comes into the picture when the crime is reported. But this is an agency where we coordinate with the public and try to prevent cybercrimes. So basically, taking the Kerala perspective as such, we are one institution. We are one police force that is really child-friendly. You can say, in the sense that we have a lot of programs. I think compared to anybody, anywhere in the globe, compared to any police force in the country also, we have multiple programs running in schools. Because we believe that getting involved with children today is basically reducing crime tomorrow. So on the screen, you can see we have a multiple projects and programs running in the schools, including the well-known student police cadet project, the student protection groups, the child-friendly police stations, Project Hope, Project Our Responsibility Towards Children. Why I mentioned this, we are basically a very child-friendly police force, which really goes into the schools, and we have multiple programs running there. So basically, it's to make the citizens, making the children better citizens as such. We have a total zero tolerance policy towards online child exploitation, and that's how we went into this issue in detail, because we found that this is a major problem. Few years back, only 5 to 6 years back, when we developed the CyberDome, we understood that this problem was acute. And rather being the hunter, or rather than waiting for the crime to occur, we said that we need to go in and really try to prevent these things from happening. That's how we started the Countering Child Sexual Exploitation Cell, which is one of the first such dedicated cells opened in India, of course, with a lot of help from Interpol and ICMAC, as you see, who came in a big way and trained our people. They put in a lot of efforts, they gave a lot of technical training, gave us a lot of tools. And that is how we started the center, which is a 24/7 center, which looks into only these crimes, online crimes against children. And we try to detect those, get those perpetrators to before the law. And we had great success over the years. This is 150 strong group spread around all the districts of Kerala. They have the technical knowledge, they have the training to go in and secure any technical digital device and do all the cyber investigation required in such cases. This is basically the center, which a new office also for the center. It was inaugurated recently by the Honorable Chief Minister. So basically what we have been doing since the pandemic started, we have been actually looking at internet in a big way, because the pandemic has actually brought everybody to the digital platform or before the devices. And the children have come before the devices through online classes, games, etc., etc. And then the pedophiles or the criminal also, he doesn't have any other work rather than sitting before his device and trying to access these sites and trying to exploit the children. So basically, you must be knowing these are the current CSAM circulation methods over the internet. We have the darknet, social media. We have seen a big increase in our analysis over in Kerala as such, where we have Telegram sites almost doubling. I'll come to that. We have WhatsApp. We have anonymous chat groups that are used to circulate such material. We have file hosting services, Dropbox and Google Drive, where they download all these videos and pictures and go about it. So the latest, what we have, the trends during the COVID-19 thing is, we find that a lot of innocent local pictures of children were digitally changed into pornographic material. We find that it is all the more in COVID, because we find that most of the pictures are actually of the house or of the neighbors also. So we can easily understand it was made during the pandemic period. Then a lot of material is distributed over the internet with the victims, without the victims' knowledge, and that also we find it has grown immensely during this pandemic period. Then, as I earlier mentioned, most of the pictures were of children inside their houses or of neighbors, and most of the video clearly discloses that it is during this COVID lockdown period. And most of the victims, of course, do not come out with complaints, so we have very few complaints, formal complaints coming up where we can initiate any legal action against the perpetrators of such crimes. So very few crimes get reported. And the trend that we found now, because the police have been active in social media groups, etc., we find that in Telegram, etc., it is now from the groups they have migrated on to Telegram channels where only the admins can post the content, which makes it even more difficult for the police to actually break in and gather the details about who the administrator or who the members are. Then another major problem that we found in recent times is basically a lot of WhatsApp accounts being created using fake numbers, using third-party applications, and then they transmit CSAM, which makes it almost impossible for the police department to know who the accused is and trying to arrest them. So these are some statistics of what we have during COVID-19. This, of course, this must be in your knowledge also, the fact of interest. It has gone up from 34.7% in February, March to 79.7%. We have file severity also really increasing. February, March period, if you see, it's 26.8, it has gone up to 66.4. And the downloading rate also has almost doubled in the last month of the lockdown. So what we have is a massive increase in the browsing of CSAM material. People are there indoors, people are locked up, people have all the time, and that's how the criminal is spending his time, trying to download and upload various kinds of CSAM material. The downloading rate from the BitTorrent also increased more than double to that of the previous month. Then we have a trend where the pedophiles were searching for child CSAM material within the age limit of 10 to 15 years. That was another factor which is coming up. And of course, we have the downloading factor of interest, which also doubled during this period. Similar trend is seen in almost all the social media handles which we see. Telegram, we have a equal, almost a double increase. We have WhatsApp also with a similar increase of more than 100%. Facebook, Instagram, darknet, cloud storage. You take it anywhere, it has gone up multiple times during this lockdown period, which clearly shows how acute the problem has been. The law enforcement has been busy with various activities, and even the ISPs and TSPs did not find much time. They are not in the offices and they have minimal staff only, and it is this time that these accused have utilized their time to transmit CSAM material. So this is what I said. Many Telegram groups have come in. The Facebook groups were created, which actually share the CSAM to a great extent. The number of users multiplied within 1 month, the month of April, it has gone up by a great extent. And then using these groups, of course, the cloud storage links were shared through Megalink, etc. And they actually downloaded a lot of material like that. What in Kerala we did, in spite of various restrictions due to the lockdown, many ISPs, offices not functioning, the IP addresses, details could not be done, but still through using various softwares available with us and various policing techniques, we tracked down a lot of groups. We reported it to the channels and got it deleted. But we identified some members also on Facebook groups and Telegram groups and took some legal action. These are the basic darknet trends, or the trends in the pictures that were shared, etc. We had, it is not that it is solely pictures of boys and videos of girls being shared. We had equal number of CSAM of boys also being shared. The most worrisome factor for us was the local videos and pictures, because generally the trend was with Western videos and videos from outside. But now in this pandemic period, we found that a lot of local videos and pictures surfaced up, which we know, looking at the video, studying the video, understanding the language that's from the local area, local pictures being shared, local videos being shared, rape videos, pictures coming on, mob videos. We had animated CSAM material also being shared in a big way. So this is basically what we did in Kerala over the last 3 to 4 years, along with ECMEC, Interpol, etc. We actually launched an operation called P-Hunt, which was highly successful. You can see on the screen itself that from 2017 onwards, we collected the information on all these people transmitting CSAM over the darknet, over the internet, over the social media. And we collect some information, and simultaneously on a particular selected day, mostly on Sundays and holidays, we actually conduct a statewide raid. That is where we arrest such individuals as such. So we have had around 8 such rounds, and we have arrested, we have actually put a stem on this problem, but this problem keeps on reoccurring. The gravity of the problem, the number of people actually involved in the crimes is drastically increasing over the years. So this is what we have over the past 3 years. We have 210 established raids, searches conducted throughout the state. We have around 38 big cases registered. We have around 42 people arrested, and the cases have been charge sheeted and they are awaiting trial now. So this is what Kerala police has been doing over the years. In the pandemic, what we did is, during this lockdown, as I earlier mentioned, that we had the problem of not getting the IP details, etc., because ISPs, TSPs were not functioning to the fullest extent possible. So we couldn't get various details. So what we did, we actually arrested a few, but we gave a lot of publicity. We came out with a study. We came out with a lot of publicity in all the newspapers and social media saying that we have identified a lot of group, and that actually was a big deterrence for the people. We found that many groups immediately the very next day, all of them left the groups, they closed down the groups, and it came down drastically due to the publicity angle itself. Then, of course, we have launched a major program called Kids Glow. This was earlier running also physically, where the police officers used to go to various schools, and we conduct programs in the schools on what the children should do, how to remain safe on the internet, safety precautions that the children need to take, the teachers need to take, what the parents should do at their homes, etc. But now we have taken it online with the present trouble. We find that most of the students are available online. So we have tied up with the schools. We are actually taking this program also, Kids Glow, on the net online to all the students, so that they also remain safe, because they are using very devices. They are going for online classes. It's very essential that they follow all those security protocols. They remain safe. The parents have to do their bit. The teachers have to do their bit. And so that is the program that Kerala Police is conducting to make them aware about the various security tips that they need to take now. So that is it, what Kerala is doing with regards to what we are doing in preventing online crimes against children. And we require a lot of agencies from around the globe, including NICMAC, Interpol, etc., supporting us in a big way. And we continue, a lot of agencies in the state also are supporting us. And we require whatever support it takes from various agencies, because it's a global problem and we need to have all the cooperation required to ensure that we make a safer world for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manoj. Greatly appreciate the very insightful and detailed presentation as to what law enforcement in Kerala is doing around this issue. And as I said earlier, it is great to be partnering with Kerala Police, being the first dedicated team to counter child sexual exploitation within the police forces in India. Just one highlight before I get into question and answer. We will have, I think we'll have about 5 minutes or so before we can get to that for question and answer. I highlight what Mr. Abraham just pointed out. Awareness is key, but police demonstrating apprehending offenders is also it basically is the greatest deterrence to offenders that are likely to offend. If law enforcement is seen as implementing and enforcing the law, I think that's the greatest deterrence we can provide. Society can see that the offenders are being apprehended. So that's really great to know that the media around the arrests is, really serves as a deterrence here. I'll move on to some of the questions that have come in. Just going through there is some great credit to the Kerala Police for the work they're doing. There's one question, Mr. Mathur, in terms of the reporting portal that has come in terms of people asked for how active it is, how they can remediate. Is there any way of communicating with the nodal officers? What are the helpline number? What's the protocol there?
Yeah, actually they can report the crime on cybercrime.gov.in. That is the URL address of the portal, cybercrime reporting portal. And the helpline number is 155260. So they can call on this number and they can get help and guidance in lodging the complaint. And the nodal officers details are given on the portal itself. They can get the details of the name and the number, contact details of the nodal officers of each state on the portal itself. Is there on the portal.
Thank you, Mr. Mathur. Manoj, there's a question for you here in terms of how can NGOs work closely with law enforcement? What kind of support can they receive from law enforcement in terms of data, and how can they interact with law enforcement if they have data?
We require what we believe is basically we require the support from all the NGOs, the various agencies who are actually working in this area, because that's so very important in various aspects. Even now, one of the major problems that we face is an identification of a lot of victims. The victim identification part is so very difficult in a state like in a country, wherever in a country like India, it's so very difficult. And when we identify, also the police doesn't have means to counsel them, to bring them back. A lot of process has to be there, because the child has to be taken away from that place, put in a very safer environment. So the NGOs have a very big role to play, and we have been moving out with a lot of NGOs functioning here, saying that they should actually partner. And so we are welcome. If anybody wants to really partner, we have a lot of work for them. A lot of things need to be done. So kindly touch us. We are there on all the social media platforms. Our website is up. You can just connect to us. It will be good that you come and partner us, because we have to be together in this drive to make the internet safer for children.
Thank you, Manoj. I am just scrolling down questions as they come in. Mr. Mathur, there's a question here about TrackChild, the facial recognition software. Is that being used in around the missing children cases?
Now, as I said, that this we are proposing. So far, facial recognition system is being used in some states on their own initiative, but there is no facial recognition system at the national level database of the missing children or the recovered children. So NCRB has already moved a proposal which is under active consideration of Ministry of Home Affairs. So this we are going to do very soon.
Great, thank you very much. Rebecca, there's a question for you here in terms of, are there any specific tools that you are aware of that law enforcement can use for material detection as well as IP detection, CSAM detection as well, detecting CSAM as well as IP address, location?
Yes. Yeah, so there's some hashing technologies that are out there, photo DNA, that is kind of industry standard right now, that you can use to detect kind of the hash values of an image. So every image has its own unique kind of digital thumbprint. And so this is what we call a hash value. And so there's tools that are able to, and I'm not really technical, so I'm just going to do the layman's version, that is able to use the information behind that image to match like visual similar images together. And that's what's called photo DNA. So that's kind of a method being used. I don't know off the top of my head for the IP addresses what's being used. I'm not familiar with any tools for IP addresses.
Great, no worries, thank you. I have one question here, interesting one, Manoj, coming back to you is, how could the dark web be monitored? Is law enforcement in India doing anything around that aspect?
We have, it's a very difficult thing. Dark web, the concept itself is that you can't really go and track it down so easily. But we have tools that have been supplied by the various agencies that we are working with, including the ICMAC and various other tools and crawlers that really help us in tracking down sites which are there. So we are doing our bit, but still it's impossible. The number of the sites that are available in the darknet, the pictures that are downloaded, the precautions that are taken, etc., make it more difficult to track these people. But still, the police also is developing enough tools. Tools are available. We have local tools available. We have tools made by international agencies, which really help us in crawling over the internet data and identifying the CSAM material being transmitted. So tools are available.
Thank you, Manoj. I think I'm going to try and get one more question in before we can wrap up. There are repeated requests, Mr. Mathur, for the portal website address as well as the portal address for the training site.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, the portal URL address is cybercrime.gov.in. Again, I repeat again, cybercrime in continuation and .gov.in. That is the portal where the complaints can be lodged. The helpline number is the 155260. All India helpline number is that. And what is the next question?
The training,
That is sitetrain.gov.in. Sitetrain.gov.in, but that is only for the police officers, not for the public.
I see.
But for creating awareness among the public, there is a link of cyber awareness in the cybercrime reporting portal itself. There is a guide. There are guidelines for what are the precautions one should take for children and for the adults, so that they are not victim of the cybercrime. That awareness guidelines are there on the cybercrime reporting portal itself. Also, MHA has a Twitter handle called Cyber Dost, where they regularly give cyber tips for all to take precautions so that they are not victim of the cybercrime. Twitter handle name is Cyber Dost of Ministry of Home Affairs.
Great. Thank you very much. I think it's going to be time to wrap up now. I'm going to highlight some points here. In all the discussion, underlying the discussion, I guess there are three things that come to mind. A robust reporting mechanism is an essential to even begin to understand the scope and extent of this crime. And without data program as well as policy is ill-informed, both at the government as well as the NGO level. Prioritizing reports, putting out alerts, case management, and law enforcement triage need a foundation of cross-sector collaboration. No one stakeholder can do it alone. Public-private partnerships are key, and I think the Cyberdome is a great example in that with the partnerships with the private sector and law enforcement, and same with the NCRB and the NICMEC partnership here around data and the cyber tip line referrals that are being shared here. Lastly, awareness and education to prevent this crime is without doubt the first step. But we first need to win what I usually call the acknowledgement war. It's an uncomfortable issue, and we no longer can afford to sweep it under the carpet if we want to live up to our responsibilities as well as duty of care. And I refer back to an article that came out in the Hindu this morning, which was referring to the boys' locker room case. Time to bring the locker room talk to the living room and speak with your kids. There were several questions around the fact that, age-appropriate education and awareness. And I think that's what's really needed at the school system level, at the society level, as well as at home. So just to wrap up, I would say clearly much is being done and a lot remains to be done. And with that, I would like to thank all the speakers, the attendees, as well as our partners, UNICEF India and the CyberPeace Foundation, for making this possible today. Thank you all for your time and interest and for joining us here. Thank you from the ICMEC team. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.